above my status. This is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Don't raise me above my status like Bani Israel did to Isa ibn Maryam. فَإِنِّي عَبْدُ اللَّهِ فَقُولُوا عَبْدُ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولُهُ. Because I'm only the slave of Allah. So when you address me as Abdullah wa Rasuluh, the slave of Allah and His messenger. This is the messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he said that one of them, they went to go get some Zamzam water for his sheikh. He went to go get some Zamzam water for his sheikh. And when he brought the Zamzam water back to his sheikh, the sheikh, he urinated in the Zamzam water for barakah, to put barakah. He's blessing the water of Zamzam. You laughing, but this is the part of it. They believe. This is from their aqidah. This is their belief that their sheikhs, you can draw a barakah from them. That's extreme. That's extreme. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll break for the salat. This is what I wanted to present, although there was more, but because of the shortness of time. But I'll encourage the brothers and sisters, as I encourage myself first and foremost, to go through the Quran. Look at the minhaj, as our beloved Shaykh Rabi'a ibn Hadi al-Madkhali, hafidhullah ta'ala, he wrote a book called The Methodology of the Prophets and Messengers in Calling to Allah. Although many of us may have that book in our bookshelves, how many of us have actually read the book, gone through the book? It's one thing to say I have Shaykh Rabi'a's book, and there's another thing to say I've read it and I've studied it, and mashallah tabarakallah. Because we become like people of propaganda, many of us. We say we have telelinks with the Shaykh in our masjid, but you don't come to the telelinks, nor do you listen to them, nor do you understand them. Because the same stuff that the Mashaykh be addressing is the same stuff you find us propagating. The opposite of it. The Shaykhs tell us to mend the hearts and be one. We do the opposite of it. The Shaykh Rabi'a did a whole lecture on stopping the discord, uniting the hearts, the Salafis being united, people being united upon Tawheed. And you still got those from amongst us who have to point the finger. They're Hizbis, they're not Salafis, they're not this. So my question is are we now have a dawah of propaganda, or is it a dawah mubarakah? Or is it something that's a blessed da'wah that we should be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have? Or we say we have this book, or we bought that book, but how have you read the book? Did you read the book? You look at many of us in our adab and our akhlaq sayyi'ah marra, our behavior, our mannerisms with one another. And Allah, for Allah, the adab and the akhlaq that we have with our wives and our children, Allahu musta'an. Haddath wala haraj. The etiquettes and manners that we have with our wives and our children, that's something totally different. And don't even get me started on that. But the mannerisms and the behavior that we have with one another as Muslims. Wallahi, we have kafir colleagues that we work with every day that we treat better than our own brother Muslim. Because you've been at your job for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. You've been working alongside this kafir for 20 years. I don't care if he was your kafir brother, your blood relative. If he's a kafir, your brother in Islam, aqrabu minhu. It's closer to you than him. But we go through the stories of the prophets and messengers in the Quran, and we learn from them the methodology and how to call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and their behavior and their mannerisms with the people that they were calling. Look at the respect that Musa had for Fir'aun, along with the fact this individual mukabbir, individual on a whole nother level of arrogance. But look at the respect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Musa and Harun, قُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرَ أَوْ يَخْشَى. Say to him a kind word. And although Allah used the word la'alla in the Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word la'alla, huwa ta'keed, laysa lishak. When Allah uses the term la'alla, which is translated in English as perhaps, when Allah uses the word la'alla, it doesn't mean perhaps, it means it will happen. that if you call someone with qawlan layyin in a gentle manner, they will remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and develop some fear, some taqwa. They will. They will. And this is Fir'aun. As one of the people in ending, and I know I said in ending twice. And one of the tabi'un, he went up to one of the leaders of the Muslims during that particular time. He said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, inni nasihuk wa mushaddidun alik. فقال يا هذا إني لست أشد من فرعون وأنت لست خير من موسى فأمر الله موسى وهارون أن يقول له قولا لينا. Individual, he came up to the leader of the believers, was the leader of the Muslims during that time, and he said, "O leader of the believers, I have some advice from you. I have some advice for you, and I'm gonna be a little harsh in my advice to you." So the leader, he said to him, "Let me tell you something. I'm not worse than Fir'aun, and you're not better than Musa." And Allah told Musa to say to Fir'aun a kind word. Now, so when you approach me with the same manners. I'm not worse than Fir'aun, and you're not better than Musa. So when you approach me or when you address me in a manner of respect. And there's no doubt when we use this type of usloob, when we use this type of manners with people, and of course that doesn't mean that it's always going to be like that. As if we open up the door and start talking about the shiddah, the harshness that some of the salaf use with some of the people of deviance, then, haddath wa la haraj. We will be sitting here all to tomorrow talking. But the initial approach is with rahmah, is with mercy, and is with gentleness. بالرفق ما كان الرفق في شيء إلا زانه وما كان العنف في شيء إلا شانه. As the Prophet ﷺ said on the authority of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, who said that the Prophet ﷺ said that gentleness wasn't put into anything except that it beautified it. And harshness wasn't put into anything except it made it ugly. فنسأل الله جل وعلا التوفيق والسداد والهداية والرشاد فإنه على كل شيء قدير وصل اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وسبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.